So while I was in Bible study tonight, Acts chapter 1, talking about their takeaways. It's 1:11, which, so actually I'll read number 10, because so this is talking about the time where God was being taken, where Jesus was being taken up, and the disciples were there. And it says, and while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which is angels, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey. They had to go to Jerusalem, where Jesus had told them to wait for the promise, right? So the promise is the Holy Spirit. So when you get into Acts chapter 2, they talk about the Holy Spirit and how the Spirit fell upon them because they were waiting in the place where God had told them to wait. So before we get there, but Jesus had given them instructions and told them to go back to Jerusalem to make sure that they were waiting for the promise. But the thing that really stood out to me the most was that they were only 7 days away. So while they were so busy, distracted, oh Jesus, we get so distracted by everything else besides following the instruction that God had given us. And so it had really hit me, because I was like, dang, I know it's instructions that God has given me that I have yet perfected. Yes, I have done them, but I haven't perfected them in the way that God desires for me to perfect it. So it just really pierced me that the simple fact that God was reassuring me, and just the same way that he reassured the disciples with the angels coming to them and saying, hey, why are you guys spending time gazing, looking up, when you should be going forward, because you're only 7 days away from where you're supposed to be waiting for the promise. So the place that your promise is coming, you're only 7 days away, but you're so distracted looking and gazing up that you're wasting time, that you're going to miss the appointment for the blessing if you don't get there in time, right? Because you're so distracted looking, gazing up, when understanding that Jesus had given you an instruction. God has given me an instruction. God has given you an instruction. So we all need to take accountability and go and look back at some of the instructions that God has given to us, and we need to operate on them. We need to work on them. We need to focus on them and understand that you're 7 days away from where your promise is supposed to meet you. So even if your promise doesn't come on that 7th day, you're in position. You're waiting on the promise. You're in the right place, and your promise is going to fall on you any day now. Oh Jesus! And even when they got there, the Holy Spirit, it took them 10 days for the Holy Spirit to pour out. So while they were waiting, they were in one accord. They were in prayer and supplication. And I learned today in Bible study what that supplication really means. It means to petition. It means to ask. It means to want. Right? God, it means to seek. And y'all, when I say that it was so good, I just, look, I mean, it just really, really pierced my heart. It really touched me. So I hope that this message has touched somebody else. And I pray that you take something away. Get the instruction that God has given you. Focus on the instruction. Stop being so distracted by your life, by what you see, and focus on the instruction that God has given you, because your promise is waiting for you when you follow the instructions.